Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of Something Every Tuesday, welcoming you to Hope. We are so excited that you've joined us this evening for this edition where we're going to look at what it's like to live on campus. My name is Dr. Ellen Awad, and I'm the Associate Dean of Student Life here at Hope, and we're so excited that you've joined us. Tonight, we have an expert panel that's going to guide our discussion. And if you have questions that crop up while they're speaking, you can use the Q&A feature found at the bottom of your screen to just pop your question in there, and we'll either answer it through the chat or maybe one of the speakers will answer it verbally. What's going to happen is our panelists will speak, and then at the end, after all of them have spoken, we'll do a group Q&A. So joining us tonight for Living on Campus, we have Henry Chen. He is one of our great campus safety officers. We also have Liz Cubius, who is the Assistant Director of Student Life. We have Evie Benitez, and she is one of our resident directors in Phelps Hall. And we have Kristen Bachniak, who is our Associate Dean of Residential Life. So starting us off tonight with the panel is going to be Henry Chen.
Hi everybody. Looking forward to meeting you guys on campus. As Ellen said, thank you, Ellen. My name is Henry Chen, and I've been working for campus safety for 21 years now. And some of the things that I wanted to tell you guys is the first thing is campus safety's number. And so if you can, get out your phone right now and then save our number there, okay? Our number is 616-395-7770. We operate 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, and 7 days. So we're always there. And so we are the first response area for all of you guys if there's any need or anything like that. A big part of campus safety that's a misconception for everybody is that we are only there as a response to emergencies or if we get in trouble or anything like that. And I think that's a very different approach than what Hope College Campus Safety does. Our approach is more of a community-wide approach to that. And so we have officers that are entrenched in each residence hall. And so each residence hall will have at least one officer that's assigned to that. And you get to know that officer a lot. And whether they're inside the building talking to you or if you have any questions, they're always available. They'll come to some of your events and just listen to you also whenever you need. We're really, really excited because since this whole time, we've been around and we've been working here, but the students are gone. And so we are excited to have school starting in just a little over a month. And we're so excited to meet all of you guys. I think in my area, what I love about my job is just investing in students and making sure that students are heard and are valued. Those are very, very important. There are a few different things at campus safety that I wanted to let you guys know. Our building is actually under construction right now. And so in addition to some COVID restrictions, what we want you to do is if you are coming to campus safety for anything, to pick up something or to drop off something, we would ask that you call that number, which is 616-395-7770. And then you can tell us what you need and we will come and meet your need. We would either come outside because it's under construction or have an officer come meet you wherever you need it. I think also in addition to that, there was some questions about parking and IDs, and those will be coming in. You guys received an email about IDs where we're asking you guys to take a picture of yourself, hopefully with a background like this or a solid background, so that have somebody take a picture of you and think of it as like a driver's license ID. And so because we can't take your picture right now, we're asking you to send it in to us, and then we can have your IDs printed and send it and get it to you guys. Parking around campus is first come, first serve. There you can obtain your parking permit, and that's all online registration anyways. We've had that for the past few years. So when you put in your parking registration on, we could then send it to you by mail. And so you can go to our campus safety website and do that right away now and register your vehicle. There are many lots on campus and that we patrol, and so it's very safe, and they're all very close distance to a residence hall. And if you have to park away from your vehicle, we are happy to make sure that you get to your residence hall safely. I think that's it for now. I am going to throw it out to pass it over to Liz over at Student Life.
I'm so sorry, I am muted. I knew that would happen. I'm Liz Cubius. I am the Assistant Director of Student Life at Hope. I love the opportunity to work with students every day. The best part of my job by far is getting to work with student leaders on all of the initiatives that they have for their student organizations, you know, processing through new initiatives with them, watching those events really come together that are for you students and planned by students. We have over 75 student organizations in Student Life that run through our office, and there's really something for everyone. During Welcome Week, you'll have the opportunity to attend the Student Involvement Fair and get to know those organizations and see if one of them might be a good fit for you. We know that, you know, you're at Hope to get a degree. We really want you to get a degree. We want to see you succeed at Hope. And we also are very aware that part of that is getting involved. The research actually shows that students who get involved on campus they do better in their classes. They're better at managing their time. That's also better for getting a job, right? You get some real world experience through your student organization on campus that you might be involved with. You also make positive connections with the college and you meet a lot of really great people. So we're not telling you to get involved with like 800 things. I know my freshman year, I signed up for 5 different clubs and that wasn't sustainable. But we want you to really try to find something. Get involved with, maybe it's IM Sports, it could be a student organization, it could be research with a professor, it could even be working on campus. We want you to just get involved. So again, check out that Student Involvement Fair, maybe sign up for a few emails and check them out. The first week of school, the second week of school, there are going to be a lot of great events, both virtually and in person. I know there's a lot of concern about with the pandemic, what do we do, you know, with our traditional events? I think you'll be excited to find that our student organizations have been planning events since the beginning of last year for this upcoming year. And those will be a mix of virtual and in-person events that take in, you know, into regard all of the guidelines that we have, but they'll be really great. And again, having that virtual component allows you to attend at a time that's convenient for you, which we can't always say for in-person events because sometimes there's conflicts with that. So we are so excited to meet you. We want you to take advantage of the Bultman Student Center. That's where our office is located, right on the first floor. The BSC was built for students, and we as employees in the Student Life office are so lucky to get to share that space with you and enjoy it along with you. So again, you can find us on the first floor of the Student Center. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Hope College Student Life. You'll get a lot of updates about what's happening, as well as connect with some of our student organizations. And if you have any questions, please email us at studentlife@hope.edu. I'm going to pass it over to Evie Benitez from Residential Life.
Awesome. So yes, I am Evie or Evangeline. Kristen, after I speak, Kristen will speak about more things that different COVID regulations, how things may look different, and then the move-in process. I'm going to talk a little bit about what residential life will look like in a residential hall. But I'll start with my favorite part about my job. And I think that's just the people I get to work with. So students, my professional staff, colleagues, campus partners. So partnering with campus safety and having those community officers out in the residence halls. I think that is just, that's the most joyful part of my job. So starting off with who makes up our department, there's a lot of different pieces, but some of the terms that you may hear as you begin to move in and prepare to move in. RDs and RLCs. An RD is a resident director and an RLC is a residential life coordinator. Those are professional live-in staff members that live in communities. Each community, each hall has one, and they oversee day-to-day functions of that building. So RLCs are full-time individuals, and then RDs are part-time. RLCs supervise RDs, oversee the community, and then also supervise an RA staff. RDs just oversee the building as well as an RA staff. An RA is a resident assistant. Hope actually has over 150 RAs. There is one in each hall. There's multiple in each halls, but there's one in each living unit. So whether that is a cottage, an apartment, or a hall. So in a hall, it kind of varies. There's 2 to 12 based on the size, based on the size of the actual hall. And RAs are student staff members. And their primary job is the safety and security of residents, as well as the development of the community. And so one of the ways that an RA does that in the first few weeks when you come onto campus is a roommate agreement. So as you got your housing assignment last week, whether you chose your roommate, whether this person is someone you've never met, regardless, you'll be asked to do a roommate agreement. This is so you set clear expectations on communication. You are both on the same page about respecting personal belongings, and then the use of physical space. How are you going to use your room? It's probably a little smaller than what you may be used to. And yeah, you're going to be sharing a lot more physical space. So yeah, we think that really helps with roommate conflicts or preventing roommate conflicts down the road. And those are kept for review, and then changes are made if needed. So they also talk about sleeping environment, study environment, cleanliness is a big one, and things like that. So similar to roommate agreements, RAs also help facilitate community agreements. So that could be for your floor, your wing, or your cluster, depending on where you live. And that is similar in terms of, it talks about to the roommate agreement in terms of just making sure everyone in the community can be heard. One of Hope's residential life's values is belonging. So we want Hope to feel like a home for everyone, and we want to make sure each voice is heard and valued. And that's kind of where those roommate and community agreements are a big deal in the first few weeks. Another role of an RA is engagement. So planning events and opportunities to connect. That can be within the hall, within the Hope community, or the greater Holland community. So that could be partnering with Student Life on an event, or Center for Diversity and Inclusion on an event, or volunteering out in the Holland community. So there's a very wide variety. Once again, yes, those are going to look different, but there's a lot of different ways that those can still happen. And what else? Oh, yes. So part of the engagement is you get out what you put in. So that's just something to think about. How involved you want to be in your hall. Yeah, that's depending on where you're living. The size is going to be different. So just something to consider. Something that a lot of people ask is how roommates are placed. If you did not choose your roommate, how are you placed with another person? Housing, get your housing applications, all incoming student housing applications, and based on your preferences and what you selected, answering the questions, tries to match those that are pretty similar, I would say, and then based on that, they take the preference, and then if you wanted to live, or if you requested to live in Dykstra, we do our best to put you in Dykstra, or we do the best to accommodate your preferences. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. And due to a large incoming class, which is really exciting, we couldn't accommodate all preferences. So just know that, and yeah, whatever hall you're in, I assure you that your RAs, your RD will be glad to hear about any concerns you have. But the same effort will be ensued for all of you. Some tips beforehand, some things that I wish I could tell students is voice-to-voice communication or face-to-face, whether that's virtual, with your roommate. So most of the time you probably have contacted your roommates already, whether that be through social media or texting. I would encourage you to call them up on the phone, FaceTime, Zoom, whatever that looks like for you. I think better communication happens that way. You can talk about what your room will look like, or just, yeah, the excitement of coming to campus. But yeah, that is one of our recommendations. Yeah, and to round off our panel, I'm gonna pass it on to Kristen.
Unmute. Okay. I talked to some of you maybe a few weeks ago, but again, my name is Kristen Bachniak. I'm the Associate Dean for Residential Life and Education. And you know, I have listened to my colleague panelists, and I'm just in awe of being able to work at Hope College. And part of that is because I love the people that I work with, and I love that every person that I work with said they're here because of the students. We're all here because we really value the student experience, and we really value partnering with students. So part of, in my role as a director of residential life, if I wasn't at a place like Hope, I wouldn't be able to connect with students, and I know you and I value that. And so it's really something special that is a value of everybody who's talked tonight and everybody who works here across the campus. So that's really what I appreciate about working here, and what I love about my job is that I can be in the position I'm in and still talk to students and know them on an individual personal level and partner with them to make things happen, not do things for them. But Hope gives a lot of responsibility and a lot of opportunity to students to be involved and to really shape the culture of our campus, the culture of our communities, the events that we have around campus. It's all student led, and it's all student run, and it's all student driven, and that's our value. And so that's really what makes me love working at Hope and love being here. So I just, every time I'm able to sit in something like this, I'm just reminded of that I'm fortunate to be here, and I'm fortunate to be able to work with students like you, and really excited about that in the coming year, even though the coming year is going to look different. We all know that. So I did want to take a minute to talk about how in residence, or how in your hall, is some of the day in and day out going to look different because of COVID. And that's just it's a reality that we're kind of facing, is how do we keep our community safe? How do we keep each other safe, and able to continue in an in-person semester through this pandemic? So like Evie said, she gave us a great framework of what our normal kind of residential experience is. And what our goal is, I think everywhere on campus, is to take all of those normal values and all of those normal experiences and tweak them and change them. And in some ways, actually, as we've gone through this, we're making them more interesting and better than I thought, because we're challenged to do something a little bit different. So with that, I will say everything that you've heard today, all of the meaning, COVID just means that we're just doing it a little bit differently, and it's going to look a little bit different, and it might feel a little bit different, but that's okay. I think one of the things that when I think about residential life or housing as a whole, it's your home. So as Evie said, we want students to feel like they can belong, and we want students to feel like it's your home. So if you think about your hall, your room, your hallway, your cohort as your home, we want to make sure that we're giving you all as much control and comfort in that space as possible in the guise of the pandemic. One of the things that I've talked a few times about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So if you think way back to some kind of intro to psych class somewhere along the way, you probably talked about this. And they talk about your basic needs are food and shelter. And when I think about or college, then what Liz said, you're all here to get an education. So our basic needs are food, shelter, and going to class and getting an education. And then what's great about Hope is that we do all this other stuff that you are learning and you're experiencing outside of that. And so when we looked at how do we put some of our safeguards in for COVID, we want to make sure that as a student, you have control of those 3 spaces, and or we have an environment that we know is best set up to keep everybody safe and secure in those spaces. So your home, your dining, and classroom context. So classrooms will be set up, all the chairs 6 feet apart, and with some different plexiglass in the front of the speakers, and people will be wearing masks. Those are our safeguards. Face coverings, distance, and then personal hygiene, cleaning up after your space. So when you think about that, that's what we want to try to make sure that we continue to hold. The other thing that I think is really important to think about is that people's experience with COVID and using some safeguards, facial coverings, distance, it all is very contingent on where you live and what you have experienced in your home communities. So somebody who lives in New York City is going to have a very different kind of experience and understanding and of some COVID safeguards than somewhere else. So as a college, we need to take that experience as in these very different places and set a common expectation for our community, because we all need to be pulling in the same direction. We all need to be holding each other accountable to these. We all need to be saying, hey, we need to do this to keep each other safe so we can stay here and learn and get a great education and have these extra out of class experiences that we know we're going to have if we're here in person. So I want us to all kind of keep that in mind, that we have to really set a tone of what this is at Hope, not what this is where your home is or where your neighbor is, but what other school your friends are at, but what this is at Hope, and this is what we're driving for. So in context, with that all in context, there's really kind of a few different areas that we think about within residential life or housing in this context. And what we're asking people to do is contingent on area. So one is your private room. So you all will have your own room with a roommate. What we're asking in that is that you're not going to have to wear face coverings. Yes, I had to flip my page. Sorry, that was not so eloquent. You will not have to wear a face covering in your room, but we're asking that only the residents of that room are in that room. And again, that's because we feel a sense of responsibility as a college to say, we're going to protect that space of your individual home, your individual room, as a place that you can have the most control of. And let's be honest, I think part of this is we often say, like Evie said, you have roommate agreements. There's some wiggle room with that. You can trial and error, how are we going to share food? If we're going into a semester where people don't know each other, I think it's fair for us to say, hey, we're going to say that only the 2 of you are going to be in that room, because that's going to keep us the safest as we can. And we don't want to put anybody in an awkward place when they're negotiating friendships and they're negotiating those initial conversations to say, oh, I don't know that I feel comfortable this, and you do. We just are going to take that out and say, this is your home. As a college, we're going to make a policy that protects that space for you and your roommate. We've talked a little bit about cohorts already. So again, those are your floors, wings, clusters, the group of people that you share a bathroom with. That is a really easy way to think about it. That's your cohort. We're still settling on some of the regulations or asks around facial coverings and whatnot in those spaces. So we need to make sure that we're congruent with the executive orders and what's going on in the pandemic. And so we just are going to wait a little bit to understand that the best that we can. But you will have more interaction with those folks, and that will be a little different. We are going to ask that you try to keep 6 feet apart when possible, and that if it's an extended period of time, to really pay attention to that, because that's what some of the research is showing, is that that 6 feet is really, really important, and if that 6 feet is even more important if it's for an extended period of time. So you might be like, well, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get to know my neighbor? Well, I was RD of Gilmore for a while, And every time I walked up on the floor, people were sitting in the hallways. People were sitting in the hallways and talking to their friend in their room. This is a normal part of college, honestly. We're just going to see it more, is that you might be in the hallway 6 feet apart having a conversation. Somebody might be in the hallway, your roommate who's across the hall, the two of you might be talking through the wall. You might be doing some video gaming with the people down the hall. Leave your doors open and you're going to yell down the hallway and be like, hey, what's going on? Or on the headphones. My son has this, I don't understand it all, but I know it's a thing that people like to do. And I will say the caveat of yelling down the hall only when it's not quiet hours in session. So I have to say that too. The other part of cohort living will tie into the community agreements is some expectation of cleaning your bathroom space after you use it. So wiping down sinks, spraying down a shower. So we're kind of continually doing this. It will be professionally cleaned at least once a day and spot check cleaned multiple times in a day. That's part of our process. But we're also going to ask you all to do that to keep each other and yourselves safe. Common spaces. So when we think about common spaces, there's common spaces all over campus, the Bultman Student Center, the library, and then for residential life, it's your lounges and your game rooms and laundry rooms in your halls. So there's handfuls of common spaces. All common spaces around campus are going to be set up in a way that gets kind of gives us a capacity to understand how many people should be in this space to keep distance. And furniture will be set up in a way that will keep distance if you're sitting in it. So all common spaces will be set up like that, including residential hall spaces. And in those spaces, you can have people who don't live in your community with you, but you need to be with somebody. And again, that's our standard policy. If you're in another living unit, you are there with somebody who lives there as their guest. That's always our policy. So same, but looking a little bit different, right? Let me take a look at my notes again. Okay. Oh, common spaces, yes. Facial coverings and 6 feet of distance, always in those common areas around campus. So, okay, that's like the COVID living part. Now I want to talk a little bit about the move-in process. So we have assigned, or on the tail end of assigning, all of the times and dates for when you will move in. Our expectation is that we'll send an email out to everybody tomorrow or Thursday, definitely by the end of the week, that will give you that definite date and time. If you have a conflict within this will be in the email as well. We'll be able to email firstyear@hope.edu and we'll see if we can switch things around and give you an alternative time. But know that this is tight and it will be hard for us to do a lot of switches. So you can ask, we might not be able to accommodate exactly what you're asking for because we need to keep safety in numbers and safety in distance and timing in our places as we move in. The move-in process in a nutshell, again, there will be some explanation in the email that comes out and there'll be a lot more detail later on for that, but I want to give you a little bit of a glimpse. We're going to have some outdoor tents set up in different areas on campus, and specific halls will be going to specific tents to get to do their check-in. So you'll be sent some materials that we need to make sure you finish before you get here. So we'll make sure that those have been completed. You'll get your key, you'll get your ID, and then we'll also give you a map that shows you where you're going to need to park and also identifies the door that we would like you to use to move in and out. So as we divided people up, we looked at the physical structure of the building and said, okay, we can move these two people in over here and these two people in over here. And if they use separate doors, we're going to be better off at keeping our distance. So yeah, so we'll give you that information. We're asking that only students come up to that tent so we can manage the line and the volume of people who are in that space. As far as who can come and help you move in, anybody can come and help you move in. We know that this is a special time for you to get your student settled and in their place. So anybody can come in that time period that you're going to get. It's a 3-hour time window to get them kind of moved in and settled and going. After that time period, only students will be able to be in their hall and in their space. I think the only other thing that I would say is be a little bit mindful. We have packing lists and we have suggestions on what to pack, but be a little bit mindful of what you're choosing to pack. Know that you're going to have to get it all in that chunk of time that we give you. And just remember that we have to be agile and have to understand if we have to move into a remote learning and move or change, that we want you to have things at home and things here, or not so much that it's going to be difficult for you to make that change. So just be thinking about that as you're packing and deciding what you're going to be bringing. So, okay, I'm done. Thank you for listening to my rambles. Ellen, back to you for questions.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Kristen, and to all of the panelists. I get so excited thinking about living on campus. My first career in life was living on campus, and I was in residential life, and I can't wait for all of the new students to be able to experience what it's like to be at Hope living on campus as a student.
You know what, Ellen? Fun
What?
fact, everybody on the screen has been in residential life at Hope College at some point.
Yes, yes.
So we all care about this.
We love it. One thing that I was so excited about the topic tonight that I forgot to do my infomercial plug at the beginning. So I'm going to do that now. Students, this one's for students. You need to be checking your Hope email. So just remember to check that on a regular basis. If you haven't been checking it, you will have some things that are due by next week on the 24th. One is information that goes to your advisor. Another is the Strengths Quest assessment that it takes like 45 minutes to an hour to take. You need a quiet space to do it. Follow the instructions given to you. And the other thing Henry talked about, but you will be getting information this week. There was a highlight in Tuesday Tidings that came out today, but you will be getting an email with further instructions about the student ID photo. And I think it's been said, but you need somebody else to take that picture of you with a plain background. This is not like your senior picture taken in a beautiful woodsy area. We just want something that looks more like a passport photo or a driver's license photo, and instructions are coming. So make sure, students, that you are checking your email for those good things.
Oh, can I jump in for a second? And make sure it's just you in that picture.
Yes. Yes. Like you may have that special pet at home that you want to remember. Don't send that for your ID. Like take a separate picture to bring to college with you or keep on your phone. But Hope College wants to know who you are and match that to your ID. So thanks, Henry, for that. Good word. With that, we are going to go to some questions. And my first question is actually for Evie. Evie, let's pretend I'm a new student at Hope and I am so excited about seeing what my room in Lichty Hall looks like. I just want to know, when can I come by, stop by campus to see that room before my move-in date?
Yeah, so unfortunately, due to our staff capacity, you cannot visit rooms or any residential halls before move-in. We do have some room measurements. I think they've been sent in the Q&A. The link has been sent in the Q&A. But yes, unfortunately, you cannot come in, take measurements in the buildings.
It's a small bummer, but understandable. So yeah, check out the website, and we have great furniture. You'll be able to figure some things out by looking online. Next question, we're gonna throw it back, stay on the housing theme right now. Kristen, if you could just speak to, if I'm living in, say, Scott Hall, and I have a really good friend that I met who is living in Dykstra Hall, can my friend come to visit me in the lounge on the first floor of Scott? Oh, you're on mute, Kristen.
Thank you. Yeah, your friend can come visit you in the lounges again. Masks need to be worn, 6 feet of distance needs to be kept, or facial coverings need to be worn. 6 feet of distance needs to be kept there. You also can look at different places on campus, in the student center, different academic buildings and classrooms. I think there's going to be some different spaces that people will utilize to do some of that socializing too.
Next question is for Liz. Let's say I was a super involved high school student and I can't wait to get involved outside of the classroom at Hope. How will I figure out how to join a club or let the club know that I'm interested?
You can actually start that process today. If you really want to, you can go to Hope Orientation on Instagram, and there is actually a saved story of many of our student groups that provides a lot of information about how you can get involved. If you want to wait till you get to campus, we will have a student involvement fair during Welcome Week, and a ton more information will be coming out about that, about which organizations will be there, a little snippet about each of them. So just make sure when you move to campus that you keep your eyes open and your ears open for the student involvement fair.
Thank you. Henry, question for you. What if I really need campus safety and I'm on foot and my phone is dead? Where do I go?
Well, all throughout campus, there are these blue lights, and that's nationwide, and in all of campuses, there are safety lights, and so they're scattered all throughout the campus, and so you can always just go and press a button there. Outside some of the residence halls, also there are buttons for phones, and so one button will directly link to campus safety, and it'll go to our dispatchers, and our dispatchers are always the first person that you call whenever you call that number. I think I was really fast earlier, so I'm going to repeat that number for everybody if that's okay. My number is the campus safety number is 616-395-7770. And we have a lot of dispatchers that are there, and they're there just to make sure that you are welcome and that your answers and that your concerns are met. And so have that in your phone, or get to a blue light safety phone. One thing I also didn't say earlier is that most of our campus safety officers are either retired police or have been working in campus safety for a long time. And I would say majority of our campus safety officers in their police careers have been working as community policing officers, and that's their passion. And so it's no wonder why we all gravitated towards working at a college and building relationships. And so I think that is one of the most important things. During your career, during your first year, during your first semester, during your first week, get to know a campus safety officer and get their number, get their email, and build that relationship. And I think that'll be such a great way to connect.
Thanks for that, Henry. It's so true. Living on campus at Hope is going to change your life for good, and you will learn so many new things about different ways of living, different people, about yourself, different perspectives, and it really rounds out the Hope College experience. We are residential because we believe that it matters, and your educational experience as a whole person matters at Hope. And we just can't wait for you to join us on campus in August. With that, I would like to just do a plug for our next Something Every Tuesday event. We are going to be looking at how to understand college classes. Maybe I'm foreshadowing, but soon you will get a schedule, maybe next week, of the classes that you will be taking in fall semester. And we have some experts to talk through understanding what your course schedule is and understanding how to be successful as a student in college. So we look forward to you joining us next week, Tuesday, same time, different Zoom address, but still online. We can't wait to see you then. Thanks so much. Have a great night.